Hello my friends, it's the Game Boy Geek here. Today, we bring together legendary game designer of Magic the Gathering and King of Tokyo, Richard Garfield, and the 74-time Jeopardy winner, Ken Jennings, to deliver the party game that makes you feel smart. Half-Truth Second Guess is a standalone sequel to the popular game Half-Truth. Now it's a teen trivia game where you'll have all the answers, but the twist is half of the answers are right and half of the answers are wrong. Now this is for 2 to 12 players. It takes 30 minutes to play. It's for ages 12 and up, and it's published by Nighthawk Games. Now it's being crowdfunded right now, so I'm going to show you how the game works, and I'll see you on the other side. Now this is a crowdfunding preview, so all the art and components you see here, they're not final, they're prototypes. To see the most up-to-date art and components, check the link in the description of this video. Now Half-Truth Second Guess is played between 2 and 12 players. So you're either going to play it individually with 2 or 3 players, or in teams if you're playing with more than that. So based upon that, each individual or team, depending on the amount of players, is going to get one of these wheels and some cards of that color. For example, in 2 players, it's just 1 versus 1. 3 players, it's all 3 people on their own team. As soon as you get to 4 players, then it's best to do 2 on each team. So 2 teams of 2, 5s, 3 teams of 2, and so on and so forth. Now here's a look at the different types of questions that you might find in Half-Truth Second Guess. Now what I have here are 10 individual cards, a different cross-section, different types of questions. Each question has a question and 6 possible answers. And again, the twist here is that half of the answers are true and half of them are not. So half of these are answers, half of them are not. And you're trying to figure out, hey, which ones are answers? And you're trying to get all your guesses correct and then have the most if possible. So different questions like Super Bowl halftime performers, or among America's 5 favorite pizza toppings, or won an Oscar for playing a real person, things left on the moon, a type of knot, heavier than a Hummer H2, that's a car, of course. Funny stock ticker symbols. Has opposable thumbs. Crayola crayon colors. Chess openings. So as you can see, a different cross-section of just common knowledge with some little bit of pop culture in the United States and things like that. Now let's take a very basic example to just show you how the game works. Let's just assume we're playing 2 players, right? Individual teams, they're 2 teams of 1 person. And let's say we have this as the category, the question. Now this slides right into this here, and it shows you, so for funny stock ticker symbols, well, we have keys for Steinway, which is answer A, bug for Volkswagen, B, eat for chili, C, and this is D, E, and F. So you're going to place some cards face down. For example, I'm going to have all these cards. They're going to have, it's going to be sort of reddish on the back, and there's A, B, C, D, E, F. These ones are face down just to show you what they look like face down, and these are face up. Now, if you were playing with more players on your team, they would also get cards, but like instead of having diamonds, they would have triangles, for example. So each player on your team is going to have their own set of cards, A through F. So again, in this case, we're just 2 people playing against each other, and we're red here. So we're pretty confident that we're going to get 2 of them right. The blue player thinks they have 1 of them. Now, you need to have all of your answers right in order to score, but if you have more than your opponent, you get some bonus points. So let's flip this over and see how things work out. Now, before doing that, why don't you yourself, play along with us. Which ones of these do you think? Again, you need to get all of your answers right, or you get 0 points. But if you get even 1 right, and that's all you've guessed, you'll get 2 points. And if you have the most, you'll get an additional point. So pause here, think about it, and see if you want to press your luck or not. Okay, so everyone's going to flip their cards over. I thought C and F, so I thought car for Avis and eat for Chili's, and the other player thought eat for Chili's. So now we're going to flip this over and see what the answers look like. All right, the ones highlighted in green are correct. So in this case, we said C and F. Remember, you need to have all of your answers correct. In this case, we do. We got C and F correct. So on your score wheel here, we were at start, and we got all of our teams, all our answers were correct. So we get to go 2. So we get to have 2 points here. Then, if we're the team with the most correct answers, then we'd advance 1 more. Now the other player, they got all their answers right. They only had 1, but they got them all right. So they're going to get to go 2. Now, we had more correct than them, so we got to go an additional 1. We got 3. So right now the score is 3-2. Now instead, let's say that blues had the same thing, C, only 1. Now let's say we also said F and C like before, but let's say we thought we were really confident we knew all 3 answers, so we put a D here. Well, in this case, not all our answers weren't all correct because D was incorrect. So we actually don't score anything. This player scored 2 points for having all of theirs correct, just one card, and they got an additional point because they got the most correct because we didn't score anything and they successfully got points. Because if any of your answers are incorrect, you take your cards, you place them in your hands, and you're out of this round. You can't score anything. So in this case, this was the only player left. They got one right. They got 2 points for that because they got all their questions right and all their answers right. And they got 1 additional for having the most at this point. So now they're up 3-0. So that's how that would shake out. Now let's assume we're playing a team game. Let's say we're playing 4 players. There's 2 teams. So the blue team has 2 players. The red team has 2 players, and so each of them have put there. So in blue, one of the players placed a card. They just placed 1, and one placed 2. Same over here. So one of them placed 2, one of them placed 1. Now, what is heavier than a Hummer H2? So you can go ahead and pause and play along with us. Which letters do you think are? How much are you going to push your luck? Do you want to just put 1? Let's see if, play against us. Play against both of these 2 teams. We'll see if you, A, get all your answers correct, and then B, do you have the most correct ones? So pause here, figure it out, and write it down, and we'll see you back here in a second. All right, so this single player said B, this player said F and C, this player said F and A, and this one said C. Now when you're playing with teams, you're not allowed to communicate about which answers you've selected or why, but you are able to talk about like how many answers you selected and how confident you are in the answers. Like, hey, I'm answering 2, I feel good about this topic, something like that. You can say that, but you can't say anything else more specific. So here's what it is, and let's flip it over and find out. Now in this case, it's A, C, and F. So this player said B, so their cards come up. This one said F and C, all of their answers are correct, so their cards stay. Here's A and F, all of this player's cards are correct, and this one said C, this player's correct. So now that we have the cards that are correct, we're gonna look here. So blue, they have correct answers, so they're gonna move 2. So is the red team, and now the red team has more correct answers. They have 3, they have 2, so they're gonna get to go the extra point. Now, even if this is what it looked like, this player said F and A, the other player said just A. Again, they would have gotten 2 points because these are correct, but they would have gotten an additional point because this is still 3 correct answers to 2, even though these 2 answers were the same. Now, if it had looked like this, the other player here, instead of having an incorrect answer, had a correct one. And in this case, this team has 3 answers, this team has 3 answers. Both teams would have gotten the additional point for having the team or teams, as it says here, with the most correct answers. Now, for another twist, there are some dial icons. Sometimes when you're going through your scoring, there'll be a little icon. Sometimes it might be like this. And this means that for that question, players choose incorrect answers instead of the correct answer. So you kind of do it in opposite. Sometimes you'll see an arrow, and that means the team with the most correct answers advances to dial 2 instead of just 1. Now each player has a token, so when something like this comes up, you can put it near the question to remind everyone that there's a slightly different aspect to that question. And they kind of stack. So in this example, everyone's going to be trying to find the incorrect answers, and whoever finds, in this case, the most incorrect answers is going to advance 2 instead of 1. And sometimes you might have this icon, and that basically means it's the final question of the game. This comes up towards 35 or higher points, and it's the final question of the game, and in this round you advance a certain amount of spaces for a certain amount that you get correct, and whoever has the highest points at the end is the winner. And that's pretty much how you play. Here's 8 more questions that you can see, different types of questions out of here, like types of swords, is an insect longer than the Mississippi or Missouri River, played or voiced Batman, opening day Disneyland attractions in 1955, the U.S. state mottos, won more World Series than Derek Jeter, and serial killer nicknames. So again, giving you another cross-section of these. Well, there you have half truth, second guess. And as I showed in the overview, you want to have all of your answers correct, but you also want to press your luck to get more of them than your opponents, scoring you more than them. Plus, you can combine this with the original half-truth game. Now, if you'd like to see the most up-to-date art and components and all the different pledge levels available, you can click the link below me directly in the description of this video. Now, that's going to bring you directly to the project page, and I'm sure that Nighthawk Games would love your support.